Everyone, we are doing Core 46. I am Nikki Klegel.
Tim Breen, pastor of First Reformed Church, Orange City.
And we are so happy that you are here with us. We are looking at the ancient story now. So in week 6, it's going to be Genesis 3:11 through 9. And the focus idea is God created the world good. But greed, pride, and anger marked the first generations of his people. So let's go ahead and get started.
Yeah.
Share a little bit about what this section is real quick, and then we'll get into questions.
Yeah. The next 3 or 4 are going to be the longest sections of Scripture that we're doing. We're going to come back to some that are just one verse or a couple verses long. But here we're covering a lot of ground rather rapidly in the story of the Bible. So what we're looking at right here in week 6 is the fall and what happens afterwards. God creates this beautiful world. We talked about that at the beginning. But then an enemy enters into that world, into that good creation, and stirs up trouble. And it begins with Adam and Eve eating from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And then after that, it's just like once you get that little tear in the fabric, it just tears so easily and things break apart. So we're looking right here at some of those ill effects going from Adam and Eve all the way through Noah after sin entered the world.
All right, so we get a lot of questions in now. We've got some people that email them. This is a very good one. I really like this, but it's why is God pleased with Abel's offering, but then not pleased with Cain's?
Yeah, and that's a really, really interesting question and a good one. And someone put in there, doesn't God accept all of our offerings, whatever we choose to bring? What's going on with that? Why would he be so disappointed in Cain's offering? We don't know for sure, but there's a pretty good sense based on what's there in Genesis and then also what's coming much later in the book of Hebrews, that God's delight in Abel's offering and his displeasure with Cain's offering turns, as so many things do, on the conditions of their heart. In Hebrews, it says that Abel brought his offering by faith. And so he's saying that in some sense Cain didn't. Well, let's look again at what Genesis says. Genesis says that Cain brought from the fruit of the land, and Abel brought of the first fruits and the fat of his flocks and his herds. So Cain kind of represents the farmer or someone who maybe works in an orchard or perhaps a vineyard. And Abel is like a shepherd who tenderly nurtures this flock. Now, in the Bible times, people were asked and expected to bring their best to God, their first fruits. And that's what Abel did. Now, think about this. Abel has a new lamb that's been born. And it's not always easy for people to raise flocks. So you have a new lamb, it's precious, it's new life, it's beautiful. And this was a strong one. It says a fat lamb. And Abel said, I don't know what's going to come in the future. If I sacrifice this lamb, I may not get another one like this. But he sacrifices it anyway. He gives it to God. Cain says, well, here's an apple on my tree. I'm going to have a whole bunch more apples. Or here's some grain from my field. I can grow more grain whenever I want. Abel acts in faith. Cain acts based on what happens to be growing at the given time. Christianity believes that we are called to give out of our abundance. Yes, that's what Cain did, but also give out of our need. And sometimes when we don't have much, giving that to God pleases God more than when we just throw something in the collection plate or throw something at him that we'll never miss. Jesus in the New Testament talks about the widow who gave just these 2 little copper pennies, the mite that she has. And that was pleasing to God, even though people were dropping in hundreds and $500 bills left and right. That little gift of that one woman meant so much because it was all that she had. So the New Testament again says that Cain is wicked. He's evil. And it actually precipitates in him killing his brother. So his heart was not right from the get-go. Abel said, I'm going to trust in God, give this to God right now, and wait and see how God will provide in the future.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, if we can just get to the heart and respond that way and ask God for clarity, whatever that is. But we have another question here. We have time.
A bonus question.
Yeah. So I like this one. It says, why is it easier to believe Satan's lies than the truth from God?
Yeah. Well, that probably is in reference then to the temptation of the serpent there at the tree. And the serpent really called into question the truth that God had given to Adam and Eve. Did God really say that? Can you really trust in the truth that God has given to you? There's two really quick answers to this. The first is the obvious one. The devil's smart. Satan is no dummy, and he knows how to make lies so enticing to us.
Convincing.
And so convincing, absolutely, and believable. He knows what he's doing. I love the book, The Screw Tape Letters by C.S. Lewis, which talks about how one devil trains another devil how to be good at getting God's people.
Which is why we need to train each other how to be good.
Absolutely, because the training's happening on the other side.
Yeah.
So the devil's really good at his job. But the other, just maybe practical point, is that the devil's lies and temptations often ask you to exchange a long-term blessing for an immediate sugar rush. In other words, you can have it now or you can wait and delay gratification. And the devil almost always tells you, just have it now. There's no need to wait. There's no need to trust. There's no need to endure. Just have it now. Have the pleasure now, and never tells you about the pain that comes after. God's truth says you sometimes have to gut it out. You sometimes have to give first. You sometimes have to trust. But then in the end, the blessing is going to be so much greater. So the devil says, hey, have it now. Have it right away. Have it your way. And so we often say, forget waiting. Let's get at it right now.
Yeah, I love this. We still have a couple minutes. I don't know. I'd like to give a little piece to them about what they can do moving forward, because we're having this every day. We're tempted by the devil every single day. I'm thinking that it's because we don't always know it's happening, and we don't always consider the place of our heart and stopping when we have temptation and praying on that. And I think asking God, I do think God will tell you. And pretty much every time you get those alarms where you really wouldn't want to ask God about that, it probably means it's not good.
Yeah.
You know, every time you're tempted to do something, if you literally just check in with God and talk to him about it, I mean, it's going to help.
Yeah, absolutely. The more attentive you are to it, the better. And that's sort of the story in Genesis 3 through 11, is that people became less and less and less attentive. You almost get the sense at the tree of the knowledge of good and evil that Eve is wrestling with this decision. She's not sure. It takes a little bit of effort on the devil's part to convince her, the enemy's part. But by the time you get to Noah, things have gotten so bad that, as that verse says, every inclination, every thought of every heart was totally evil all the time.
Yeah.
It's like 100%, 24/7 bad. And that happens the less and less careful you are about temptation. The more it becomes normalized in your life, the worse things get.
I'm just thinking of the world right now. You know, we're getting in some bad places, and we got to pull together. All righty. So we're done for this lesson. I hope you enjoyed it. Put any questions you might have. We can address them at another time. Down below this video, there's a comment section. And we're just so happy to have you with us. We'll see you on week 7.
Have a great week.